Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. On this episode, we are going to be changing out the fluid in the new rear differential that I installed, or me and my dad installed. So last time we talked about in the last video that we were putting a limited slip 309 LSD into the 2017 TA Challenger, and I was unable to record that, but that 309 LSD is in this car at the moment, and I have already completed the 500-mile break-in period, and now it is time to change out the old fluid and put the new fluid in so that we can do some more aggressive things with the car. So before we actually get started, we're going to walk around the car, and there's a couple of things that I want to talk about that you need to do before you start embarking on this type of change. And this goes with any kind of car that you're going to get underneath. So I am not sure this is going to work, but we're going to try it because I don't have jack stands. So we're going to have to just jack up one wheel and see if we can get under it caddy corner. Now, I've got the front wheels checked, and I have it on the other side too, but we got both wheels checked on the front. The e-brake is applied, so that means that this wheel right here is actually going to be on the ground. There's another check up there. That wheel is going to be on the ground. 3 out of the 4 wheels are going to be on the ground. Um, the e-brake is on, so I'm going to get underneath this tire and jack it up to see if there will be enough room to get underneath here. Now, I don't have a super great light source, so we're just going to have to kind of roll with it. But there's the diff right there. We're accessing those drain tubes, and we need to get underneath there. So right now, me and the drain pan are not able to fit under there, but that's the whole reason that we're jacking up the car to see if we can get in there. Another thing, a couple of tools that we're going to be using. Just kind of line those all up right here. This is probably the most important tool. All right, this is your fluid pump that can fit on any kind of, as you can see on the actual pump part, there's multiple fittings on the inside of where the threads are at for the screw. So basically what you can do is you can take off the cap on whatever fluid type you're using, whether it's one of these quart bottles or a gallon bottle, and you'll be able to screw this on there and be able to pump it out. Because whenever we look up underneath there here in a second, you'll see that you are not able to pour in from the top just because of how the angling of the differential is. So this is probably the most important tool that you're going to need besides a jack and jack stand to get underneath it. I've decided to run the Royal Purple mainly because it comes with the friction modifier. So with the LSDs, you need to be putting a friction modifier in it, and what Mopar recommends is that you would put, or what Dodge recommends is that you would put Mopar um, differential fluid in it along with that additive. And whenever you not multiply, but whenever you add all that together, it's almost just as cheap to go ahead. I mean, because this is $25 a bottle, but whenever you add in how much it costs for the differential gear fluid plus the additive straight from Dodge, it it really winds up being about the same. This is already all in one bottle, mixed up and ready to go. This is what I used for break-in period for the 500-mile break-in period, and this was going to live in the car for the rest of life. So we're going to crack the. Hopefully, my jacking situation will work, and we will get to see what that looks like after 500 miles of going around. So we're going to crack this open, or we're going to jack it up, crack it open, and see what we've got. Much better. More room. Okay, so whenever you're jacking up these cars, and for those of you who've never done any kind of jacking on a car before, this is some good information for you. There are certain parts that you want to place your jack on versus places that you don't want to, because you don't want to have an oopsie daisies, I've got a new hole in my floorboard kind of situation. So what they do, I'll get you zoomed in here real quick. They put in these little sections right here. And what this is right here, this is double stacked, where you have your frame rail and also more pieces of metal put in. So you see where this little plastic is kind of cut out at, that's where you'd want to put your jack, is right there, so that you can have, it's basically like double protection, because you're going to be lifting up on the frame of the car, and also you're going to have a little bit of extra metal to protect your cushion. But there's one right there, and there's also one up at the front of the car right here as well. So you've got one on all four corners of the car, so you can get under it very easily. Now this is just a little 1.5 ton jack from Harbor Freight. Got it on sale for like, I don't know, like $80 at one point. But what you're gonna do is you're just gonna line that up on that little slot, and you're just ready to slowly push up on it. And that's, I usually just slowly push up on it, make sure that you're not gonna have any kind of resistance. Make sure that nothing is gonna start popping or groaning or anything like that. Now, like I said, I do have the two front wheels checked, so I'm just gonna go up slowly. If we start rolling, I can back off of it, and we won't have to worry about that anymore. But we're not moving, so let's see how much room we've got underneath here. As you can see, we've only lifted one tire up off the ground. The other one is still on the ground, so lifted that one up. Got quite a bit of room under there. I think that's more than enough for, I'm a relatively small human being, so I think that's going to be plenty for us to get under. All right, some more tools that you're going to need for this build. Not build, but this little project. You're going to need some kind of Allen wrenches, okay? So now you can either use a typical Allen wrench where you have like the multiples and they're just sitting out on one of those, you know, the plastic keepers, or you can upgrade yourself to one of these nice little deals. I found this for $3 at a flea market just like 5 days ago. So pretty lucky find on my part. But I'll show you right here. Hopefully this will be enough light. But right up here on the differential is two Allen holes, two Allen bolts that you're going to have to loosen. So those two, the top one is for the air, you know, so you don't have that gurgling whenever you open it. But it's basically for filling. And then the bottom one is the drain hole. So you want to undo both of those whenever you get this open, whenever you crack it open. Do the top one first and then the bottom one. So, but like I said, I picked this little set of Allen wrenches up just a couple days ago to flea market, and then I already had this 3/8 ratchet, which is what these are. They have the 3/8 fitting on them. So I'm not sure what number it is. I'll tell you here in just a second whenever we get underneath and find it, but I'm assuming it's one of the two up on the end. So we'll check back in here in a second. All right, I'm gonna crawl under here. Hopefully I won't block y'all's view too much whenever I'm trying to get up underneath here, but I want y'all to see as much as you can. So got my ratchet. I don't have a whole lot of very good light, so put that right there. Make sure it's still got plenty of light. Yeah, y'all can still see. All right, so there's my light source, but I'm just gonna take the biggest one off because I think that's the one that it is. Is that biggest one crammed in there? Nope, it's the one small, the next size down from it. Yep, that's it. So that is a this is a 5/16 Allen is what this size is. So like I said before, we're gonna push that out of the way. It's my drain pan. Those are also super great. These are O'Reilly's for not a whole lot of dollars, but like I said, you're gonna want to crack open the top one first, just to make sure that you get some airflow going in there, because you don't want to have it start gurgling whenever you're trying to let it drain out. So we're gonna just bust it open on top. Get the other. Make sure you don't forget to take your plug out of your drain pan, otherwise you're gonna have a big mess in a hurry. So break it open with your ratchet, and then once you get it broken over, you should just be able to do finger after that. But There you go. Like I said, having undone the top one, this should fall out a lot smoother. Yeah, a whole lot smoother. All right, I'm gonna shine this in there, and and I'm not seeing, I don't see any sparkles at all. And I'll show you guys here in just a second when this gets finished draining. But seeing a light up against this coming out for the first time, I'm not seeing any chunks or sparkles or anything. So that means we had a successful break-in period. We did not have anything majorly going wrong, because it's, from what I understand, it's okay to find some sparkles. It's okay to find a little bit, because from the factory you got all these gears and stuff that are wearing together, and for the first time, and sometimes you have a couple of just hundreds of thousands of clearance issues. That's why there's a break-in period. That's why you don't just go do a big smoky burnout whenever you throw one of these in there. So but we're going to let that drain out, and then I'll show you guys how that pump contraction goes back together, and we should be able to button it up from there. Now, I might be thinking, now how much of this fluid am I supposed to be putting there? Well, this bottle probably has about, I don't know, about that much left in there. And that's from the first time. So the first time, whenever we put this in brand new, out of the box, never been used before, it took one entire bottle plus about that much of that one. So there's a little over half of that one left. So if mathematicals, if they work the way they're supposed to, should be able to use that bottle and then all of that bottle, and we'll be ready, good to go. So main thing is, because if you look on all these different online forums and stuff, they'll say, oh, it needs to be one full bottle plus 3/4 of another bottle, or like all these exact measurements. Well, I mean, you probably should do the exact measurements, but right now we're not going to do that. We're going to put it in until it starts to seep out of the top of the hole, because that's also a correct way to measure it, to see how much is in there. So that's what we're going to be doing, and I believe it's going to use all of these two bottles I have left. Like I said, should be all of the one that was left over from the original filling up, and then all of the new bottle that I just bought yesterday. So that's what I'm thinking, is it's going to be all of that. And like I said, there's no additive that you put in it, because the royal purple, as far as I know, it's the only one that I can find on the shelf at O'Reilly's. It's the only one that has the additive in it. Like I said, I made it through the 500-mile break-in period with no noise, no weird slipping issues, nothing that no horror stories that people talk about. So I think we're gonna be pretty well set in terms of not following what is recommended in the factory, in the handbook that comes in the glove box. But there's aftermarket stuff for a reason, and this stuff, I've read a lot of forums where people trust it really well, and I trust it well enough. Royal Purple's a good enough name that I trust it in my car. So, not saying you should use it in your car. If you use what factory recommends in your car, you're gonna be getting Mopar 75, 85 weight gear oil, and then mixing it with the additive. I'm just totally fine, because I did that in one of my other Mopar vehicles, and that car had no problems either. So I don't know that it really matters a whole lot. It's just whatever you prefer to do. This is what I'm doing because it was the most convenient. Because the only way I could find the Mopar additive the last time was going to a dealership, and that's I, I don't live close to any of those dealerships. So this is what we're gonna do. I think it's gonna work out really good for we're using it for. All right, as you can see, we have pretty much ceased all of our flowing coming from the rear diff. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the bottom one back in. We gotta leave the top one in, because that's how you put the oil back in. But how I like to do this on all of my vehicles is, do the fingers tight first. Get that up in there. Get it started. Make sure you're not cross threading yourself. because that's a whole nother thing you don't want to be addressing at 9 o'clock at night whenever you got to be driving this to your job the next day. So I'm sure there's some kind of torque spec on what these two bolts are supposed to be. Tight. We're going to be doing that. Good old whoop. And it's in. Yep, this not going anywhere. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for. Is this worth the $15 that it does? Yes, it is. Now, if you're using some of that Valvoline stuff, it comes in like the squeeze bags, which I mean, if that works for you, then that works for you. But um, you know, you can really optimize your time because I've seen people using the squeeze bags, and those don't really do a whole lot of goodness either. But unscrew the top out of that, and how this is supposed to work is this comes with two different straws, and this other one is about this long, and the one that I'm using is, about double that. So definitely a universal kind of thing, not a, direct fit for necessarily any kind of bottle. I found in the past that if you use a real short one, it's about right there on the bottle, which is not, you still got about $3 worth of stuff in the bottom. So that's not what we're doing. We're going to use this all the way. And the good thing about this is all this does not have to be sealed shut. So there's two different ways. Like I said, there's two different cap sizes, one that fits on the inner and the one on the outer. This is a smaller one, so theoretically it would sit on this thread into this inside one. But seeing as how we don't have a tube that is long enough or the correct length, all we're going to have to do is just sit that in there. And like I said, it won't screw on, but we're going to be able to use that and be able to pump into it just the same. This does not have to be connected right here in order for this mechanism to work. So like if we start pumping on this, I don't want to put it in the floor, but if you start pumping on it enough, it will. Yep, see, it's starting to squirt out. So like I said, this does not have to be sealed off in order for it to work. So if you're hesitant on buying this little contraption because of that reason, don't worry about that. It'll be all right. All right, we're back under the car. Went ahead and grabbed my other bottle just to make sure that when I get finished with this one, we're all good to go. So, like I said, you're just going to thread this little tube back in through your upper hole. Just cram her on in there. Make sure that you're not going to have it slip out and start dumping this super expensive stuff everywhere. You're just going to start pumping. And like I said, there's all kinds of videos and people out there on online forums that are going to be telling you, yeah, it's going to be a bottle plus 3 7/16 of another bottle and all this other kind of garbly goo. That's not what we're looking for. All we're doing is putting this in there until it just starts to seep out of the top. And like I said, I think that's going to be all of this old bottle, which is a little about halfway full, a little over halfway full, plus most of that new bottle. So we're going to keep pumping on this and see what we got. See how much this is going to fill up. All right, whenever you start shooting air in there, you know that bottle has done its due diligence. You don't want to be shooting a bunch of air up in there. Yep. So that bottle, yep, has run its course. Set that right there. Open up this bottle and keep on pumping. Hands are slippery. Let's use one of these here Allen keys to poke a hole in there. This thing's going rather than getting a screwdriver. That is not. It's covered in dirt. All right, there we go. Now we can keep upping. Like I said, folks, we're just trying to get it to where it is just barely starting to run out. So my wife doesn't see all the oil that we're getting in the garage floor. Just gonna keep pumping on that until it starts to dribble out. All right, there we go. You see that? Right there. It's run out. All right, so at that point, we're good to go. You can put our plug back in there. Like we talked about earlier, make sure you finger that thing on there. Your hands aren't covered in 13 gallons of gear fluid. Make sure you don't throw it in this dip pan. All right, get that started on there because, some cases cross-threaded is better than no threaded, but this is a new differential and it's my daily driver, so we're trying to save on that. We're trying to not use that theory as best as we can. All right, we'll crawl back under here with our trusty old tightener, 3/8 tightening ratchet. Give her a couple of good little yep. Yep. Make sure you get your Allen nice and stuck in there. You should be good to go. That's looks pretty tight. So all right. Well, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of residue oil for you to look at. All of it is now down the side there. So I can see if this flashlight will shine down in there because I can see. Maybe you can see too, but there's not. There's it is the purple. As royal purple goes, but moving the flashlight and there's no glitters and no flakes or anything like that. So it is looks very very good. No sparkles. Everything looks great. Another thing that you should do whenever you're putting things together and taking them apart or replacing stock from new and then vice versa, whatever, make sure that anything that you torqued on the first time putting it in is also tight now. Because, that 500-mile breakdown period or break shakedown, whatever you want to call it, break-in period is also not just for the mechanical gearing and all the stuff inside the differential, but all the other stuff that you bolted on around it. Now, whenever we put everything back in, we tightened it to spec, made sure that everything was there. But just in case something were to work loose or become loose, because you take the drive shaft out of this thing whenever, or not out of it, but remove it from the differential. So because I think there's there's 8 bolts that are holding that in. So if one of those was to become loose between the time that we put this in 500 miles ago to now is the time that we need to fix that go ahead and tighten things back down. So I'm going to grab all of my sockets and crawl underneath here just to make sure that everything is still tight. All the bolts that we loosened last time to put this in, make sure that they are still snugged and where they're supposed to be, just to double check, make sure that we're all good to go. All right, so we're gonna crawl underneath here and give you guys a better look what I was working at. So like we talked about, there's the bottom drain hole, fill plug. Both of those are doing their thing. That one's the one that keeps it from glugging when it comes out. Whenever we did this, we took out. You got to take that one out, and then there's also that bolt right there. You got to take out. That's what holds this part of the differential in, and then along with that, you have your exhaust that we took out, which that one is way up there, and that's not really I know that was good and tight because we just went ahead and rushed and tightened it. This is the main thing that I'm worried about is right here. So, like we talked about, this is your drive shaft that goes, that's where all your power comes from. The output of power from your engine to put the tire power to the ground through your tires. And if this dude is loose, then you got all kinds of problems. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give a little shake. Yep, it's not moving. So, but not only that, we're going to go ahead and put our ratchet on these ones that we can get just to make sure that they are not still currently turning. So we're gonna do a little bit of turning on this real quick. You guys can see that still. And once again, found these at a thrift store. I think these were $5 because they're a star set instead of a normal Allen. But regardless, yep, right size is right there. Use my 3/8 wrench. Give a little, yep, didn't turn. And the reason I'm not using a torque wrench is because the torque spec that was on this to begin with was a whole lot higher than what I could turn on it. Because I had to put put Loctite on these and put them in with a impact gun, and then we used the torque wrench with a cheater bar on it to get it to spec where it's supposed to be. So if I can turn it at all, then something's wrong. But like I said, we are not experiencing any kind of movement at all, and this is not moving or anything. So everything appears to be good. We had to take out these two as well, but like I said, we put those in with an impact. They're not coming out. So everything looks like it is in really good place. Nothing is wiggling. My exhaust wiggle that as well. Yep, nothing's. I know the phone's moving, but that's because I'm holding it. So everything looks really, really good. Everything is buttoned up underneath here. None of these nuts and bolts are moving. Drive line, everything is where it needs to be. So now that we're out from underneath the car again, everything looks really, really good. Everything's buttoned down really nice and tight. Our differential, yep, you guys can't see, but differential is all sealed up. Should not have any other problems with it for hopefully the rest of its life, because that's what you want whenever you break something in and then you're ready to use it for the rest of its life. So I may or may not have lied to y'all. Through one of my band kids, don't ever do this. So look, yep, that tire's on the ground. Looks like it. And then oops, we're just gonna pretend like that was doing something, and we'll move on from there. Anyway, whoa, yep, that should have went, rapid, rapid setting down, but that's okay. We didn't need to go slowly and steadily anyway. But she's on the ground again. I'm gonna go make sure that go take this other wheel chuck out. Yep. Good old 10-pound weight that I haven't used for anything else in several years. Put it back where its home has been for the last 5 years. But yeah, so got all the chucks removed. Jack stands out from underneath it. Got a mess to clean up, but besides that, that is it for putting the actual new oil into the differential. Now, we talked about it earlier. Now, if you're, I guess if you're highballer, you don't have to save what's left in there, but there's still there's a little under half of the deal left in there. So this, it's $25 bottle of gear oil. So we're gonna hold on to it and use it at some other date. It doesn't expire, so throw it in your shelf and save it for another day. But anyway, Car's is let down. We're all good to go. I'm going to clean up this mess, and I'm not going to go out for a drive right now because it's almost 10 o'clock. The car is too loud to start because for whatever reason it wakes up my daughter. So she's asleep now, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to wake her up because anyone who's had a 3-year-old knows that getting a 3-year-old to sleep is about the same as pulling teeth, bathing the cat, all those analogies. So we're not going to start the car up and go for a drive right now. But I will be driving the longer way to work in the morning to make sure that get an opportunity to try and use out the new differential and maybe lose a couple of tread wears off of the old tires there. So we'll see you guys in the morning, and we'll be testing out this differential. Work. Maybe you can hear me, maybe you can't. We'll see. All right, because it is super duper windy here in Oklahoma. I finally found a place that maybe is secluded enough that we're not going to get in trouble for any noise or anything like that. So, did this make any difference? I've been driving this car for about 3 weeks now since we've done the rear axle swap, and it's made a difference in putting power to the ground. There's definitely a clear difference that more power is getting to the ground. No doubt about that. But will it do a smoky burnout? I guess we're going to have to find out. Put it in manual mode. Here we go. Yup, both tires are spinning. I think we did it. Well, that does it for this video. I hope that maybe if you're here for enjoyment, you found some enjoyment. If you're here for education, then maybe you've got the courage to do this yourself for your car. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.